Sam, you did break a story in The Age today about a potential in-season competition separate to the home and away competition. How would that look, and what percentage points chance do you give it of happening?
Well, the second part's a little harder to answer, Damo, because it's dependent on Tasmania coming in 2028. But as I said off the top, and you saw in the opener there, the AFL is concerned about teams essentially having the back halves of the year as dead. And you'll see soon we're about to put up a graphic of there being 4 games this weekend, just to poke a stick at, that are basically dead rubbers. Have a look here. There's 17 that we've picked out and up until the end of round 24 that are essentially meaningless. Now, we know the T word starts to get thrown around, and that's tanking. Are we really wanting to win games? Do we really want to finish towards the bottom of the ladder? And there's also the opportunity for a completely new stream of revenue. And they've looked towards the NBA, which launched the NBA Cup, now called the Emirates Cup, in 2023. Now, I'm not going to run you through exactly all the nitty-gritty of how it's run, but it's essentially a round-robin competition that turns into finals. They take it to Vegas, and it's a separate competition. Parts of it add up to the end-of-season tally for wins and losses, and this is what ends up happening. There's a final in the middle. Now, the AFL are using this as a bit of inspiration to say, OK, let's look at the teams that can't play finals. How can we keep them invested? And you can see here, I mean, it's obviously a different level of money in the US with the TV rights. The deal with Emirates after the first season was worth $500 million. So imagine the AFL coming along and, you know, I'm picking out a sponsor and calling it the Telstra Cup. That's a whole new form of revenue that we're looking at. Look, what I can say is, I think when Tasmania comes in, Lordo, gone are the days of the 23-round fixture now. I think that's over. I think the AFL, using this, want to strip it back to everyone plays each other once. You have a rivalry round, so you keep the Carltons and Collingwoods. You have a gather round, and then you have an in-season tournament worth a lot of money and potentially an extra final spot to the winner.
So explain, like, in season, so teams aren't playing 2 games a week. You're saying if you're out of contention?
No, so they might do it like, say, the FA Cup in England. You might play a game of the AFL Cup every 6 weeks. Or you could get to halfway through the year. A lot of us have been complaining about the buys. You say, we're all taking a break. For the next 4 weeks, we're going to run a separate tournament. The winner gets $5 million. And if you're outside of the 8, you get an extra spot in the finals. Imagine what that would do for North Melbourne supporters, for West Coast supporters.
Just hearing what you're saying, Sam, to me it has to count for something. You can't have... I mean, these will even be more dead matches, I think, than what you're referring to, unless it counts for premiership points in a way that NBA competition does, apart from the final of that.
$5 million is counting for something, Damo.
The supporters don't care about footballers getting an extra $5 million. Supporters care about their teams trying
But they care about making finals. If you put an extra spot of the finals on the line.
But what if Collingwood wins it? So on Collingwood's form, so then we're left with a spot that doesn't go to anybody.
It might go to the runner-up, Jimmy.
Yeah, but the good sides will still be the good sides throughout the middle, especially over a sustained period of time. I think they've got a lot of other things that they've got to take care of first. I like ideas, I like the big picture looking forward, but I just say hasten slowly and not off the back of this year. So if you go back to 23, you were only 2 games out in 13th. Last year, you were only 2 games out in 14th. So it's actually been pretty competitive seasons.
We're now at the start of July,
yeah, we've had
8 seasons, and 8 teams don't matter.
We've had bad seasons for the last 100 years where teams have been out of it. We've had bad games. It just so happens the next couple of rounds we've got some bad matchups. That's happened for footy. It's just the fact is we can see them all.
You mentioned Collingwood, and they're not a bad team. They're the opposite to that. And they've got the rarest of luxuries in being 10 premiership points clear now with 7 matches remaining. And the double luxury of now having a problem as to who to play in these games remaining. And Tom Mitchell's return, I thought on the weekend just gone against Carlton, their famous and fabled rival, I think was just a reminder of someone who, as we know, has won a Brownlow medal at another club, and only 8 matches ago, for this being his 3rd club, Collingwood, got official votes in a Norm Smith medal. Now, he still may be a long shot to play a meaningful role in September, given the quality of players that the Pies have still out. But I loved what he did, the fact he played 7 games in the VFL. It's a reminder, and I think it's a serving of notice to some of these other players who have been playing in his absence.
Yeah, it's a selection squeeze. What a great problem to have when you're in this position where you've got a healthy list and you've got so many players fighting for spots. And we're going to talk about what motivates you, and Craig McKay spoke about that last weekend. But Nick Dacos picks himself, Pendlebury picks himself, Sidebottom picks himself. It's just, does Ned Long pick himself? Or is it Tom Mitchell?
I think he does now.
Yeah, so does that mean Tom Mitchell doesn't play?
Do you think it comes down to those two?
Well, I think you can't play the two of them.
Who would you pick?
I'd pick Ned Long. And Tom Mitchell's outstanding, so again, it's a good problem to have. There may be an injury, season-ending injury between now and then. That's why I say it's a fantastic problem.
Can I ask something that might be a dumb question? So you were a great big game player. Tom Mitchell feels like his record is he's great in the big games. What does that matter? What does that count for late in the season when in selection?
No, it's a good question, Sam, because I think it does matter. If you've got the credits in the bank of standing up in big moments, big games, I think you've mentioned before, Damo, he's got Norm Smith votes. He's 7 games ago.
7 games ago. Hasn't played for 15 months. Yeah.
So it certainly is a factor. We know we can plug him in the hottest moments, the biggest games, and he can play good footy. But you've also got a team balance. Ned Long is a bit bigger. Can he be the second ruck? Can he be the inside mid? Of course, you've got others coming in, and what it does is it just drives everyone at the club because, if you're not on top of your game or playing that team role, someone below you go back to the Hawks just quickly. When they were flying, the Box Hill Hawks were going well. The Richmond VFL side was going really well when they were winning flags.
Under Craig McRae.
Yeah, so team selection troubles is a good thing.
Lordo and Jimmy, you've both played at clubs who have well established themselves before a final series starts. And as we take a look at what this situation does show with Collingwood from a recent history perspective, I mean, in the past 5 seasons or the 4 seasons before this one, the team in Collingwood's position right now does make a grand final. And Sydney was starting to fall away at this stage of last year, still made a grand final though. So it all points well, but motivation levels with this Mitchell situation and others at Collingwood, what else does Craig McRae need to be cognizant of?
The most bizarre game I've ever been a part of, we played Richmond in round 22 of 01 and we lost by around 10 goals. Played them a week later, we couldn't lose top spot. I tried my hardest, I felt we're all trying. We lose by 10 goals. Played Richmond again a week later and we won by 10 goals.
It's a big turnaround.
But it just shows that we weren't, you think you're trying, but we had nothing to play for. So that is the challenge you've got, Damo, but I think it's they've got so many big games coming up. They'll drop 1 or 2 we don't expect in the run home, but as long as you're cherry ripe for that first final, that's all that matters.